Hello and welcome to the Grounds Crew. My name is Alex,
And this is Paul.
and we were wanting to give you a football update. So a lot of things happened in Week 14. Belichick to North Carolina, and yeah. So Paul, take it away.
All right, we're going to talk about some results from Week 14 NFL. The Thursday night game was December 5th, and that was Green Bay at Detroit. Ended up being a great game. Detroit did win 34 to 31, and that's the game that it should have been. Detroit is still finding a way to win, and they are one of the top teams right now in the NFL. Um, I'm not going to talk about all the games, of course, but another one that was an interesting game. Miami can win at home because it's over 55 degrees, which is the big joke with Miami. As long as it's over 55 degrees, they can win. They were playing the Jets, and they did win. It was in overtime. They won 32 to 26 in an overtime game. That is yet another loss for Aaron Rodgers. Um, Got to feel sorry for that guy. He tries to come back and be the champion of the Jets, and it's just not happening. The Giants found yet another way to lose. They lost to the New Orleans Saints, and the game that was a little bit scary. Carolina was at Philadelphia. Now, Carolina's a very bottom team. Philadelphia is one of the top teams. You would have thought it should have been a blowout, and
Blowout.
it's fair to say that Philadelphia squeaked by and won 22 to 16. There were times when it looked like Carolina was going to beat them, and so that was a much scarier game than it should have been. Um, and anyway, Philly did win. That's what counts, and a win's a win. Um, but the game that was probably the upset so far of that week, particularly the Rams. Buffalo was at LA Rams, and right at the end, the LA Rams won 44 to 42. That was very unexpected. No one expected that to happen. Once again, Kansas City did their little thing that they've been doing. It was the Chargers at Kansas City, and literally at the end of the game, with a field goal, Kansas City won 19 to 17 with 1 second left. That is a scary way to win. It's still a win. I won't deny that. Okay. But it's still a very scary way to win. So, hey, they're still doing what they need to do. But and then another sad thing that happened on Monday night. Dallas once again did not win at home. They have one win at home this year, and Dallas really has to figure out what they're going to do um, because they cannot win at home. They have wins, but all but one win is away. But that leads us up to this coming week, and I want to talk about first of all the Thursday game that's already been played. Um, that was the LA Rams again playing against this time at San Francisco, and terrible game. The final score was 12 to 6,
No
and
touchdowns.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I can tell you, San Francisco is not looking good at all. Now they are severely hurt. They've got tons and tons of injuries, and it's some of their major starters. And so hey, I, I feel sorry for them. Christian's still out, and Brock Purdy is a great quarterback, but when you don't have anybody else, I mean, I I think I heard that they're on their third string for some of their positions. Well, you
Running
can't
back.
play good ball at pro level at your third string. You can't do that. That's practically having a college student out there, and that's not fair when you're playing up against the caliber of college or pro. Now, some games I do want to point out for this coming week. That would be Sunday the 15th. Just because of the way Kansas City has been playing, it should be interesting. Kansas City at Cleveland. Cleveland is better than Carolina, and there could be a chance that that could be an interesting game to watch.
Refs will
One of
get
the
involved.
What's that?
Refs will get involved. They'll change the rules again.
Unfortunately, you're probably right.
They
Um,
literally changed the rules.
I know, I know. My tease is Taylor Swift is paying them off. That has to be what's going on at
Oh
this
no.
point.
Now we're definitely canceled.
So yeah, really. Um, I'm only going to mention this game because it's my team, but Baltimore Ravens play at New York Giants. They better not make that an easy game. That's all I can say. Um, by the way, just to tell you, I I have it up on my app here. Kansas City at Cleveland. Now you're talking a top tier team coming to Cleveland. There are tickets as low as $24 to get to that game. That is unbelievable. And the reason I'm telling you that, because I'll tell you another game here in just a minute. But Baltimore, New York, you can get in as low as $33. That's at New York. Okay, New York Giants. I don't care if it's the New York Giants. You're still talking New York. That's incredible that you
New
can get in for that.
Jersey. New Jersey.
Well, yeah, technically New Jersey, but that's quite incredible that you can do that. Um, Another few games to watch. Now, this is the one I wanted to tell you. So, Buffalo is at Detroit. Now,
Ooh.
there was a time I would have told you Buffalo was going to run away with this, but now
Uh-uh.
there's the little chink in the armor, okay? And you can guarantee Detroit has looked at that and knows exactly what the problem is. And I'm telling you, even though Buffalo's still a good team, Detroit right now, the line is 2.5, which that's fair. Okay, that's like a home field advantage. I can go along with that. But I think they could actually beat them more than that. That's going to be a great game. Buffalo at Detroit. The lowest ticket price at that game, that's being played in Detroit, $330. Okay, that just blows me away. Now, of course, that's two very ranked teams. I mean, that's two of the top teams in football right now.
Right.
But it's just amazing. It's like, how can you get into a game for $30 and turn around and get into another game for the lowest price of 330? By the way, the lowest one, and this is awful to have to say this, but the lowest one is the Jets are coming to Jacksonville, and you can get tickets as low as $15. Um, that's terrible. That's just embarrassing. I mean, you can't get to a high school game for $15. That's terrible. So anyway, the other game that should be very fun is Pittsburgh is at Philadelphia. That should be a very good game. And the reason I like it is because the division that I like, of course, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Baltimore should win at New York Giants. Pittsburgh could very well lose at Philadelphia. Um, and so this should be a very, very good game. I Philly is projected to win by 5.5. I think it could be even closer than that. That could be a. By the way, that's considered the game of Pennsylvania because one's from Pittsburgh, one's from Philly. It's not necessarily rival. You don't. That's not necessarily a rival game. They're not in the same division, but that should be a very interesting game. Um, and then another game that is worth talking about is Green Bay at Seattle. Um, that's the evening game on Sunday, and that should be an interesting game as well. Seattle has a lot to play for. That division is very tight, and it should be interesting to see who wins that. Starting this week, they start playing a few games on Monday night. What I mean by a few is at least two. We're coming up on a schedule that, for instance, there are some teams that play the 15th and they play three games between the 15th and the 25th, and that's a lot. By the way, there's been a lot of talk that Patrick Mahomes is one of those that plays 3 games in that time period. He's very upset about it, and also that he has to play on Christmas Day. Um,
I
but
mean, the refs are going to help him anyways. So
yeah, um, but honestly, the 2 Monday night games are very scrub games. I don't expect that to be a great Monday night watch game. One of them is Chicago at Minnesota, and one of them is Atlanta at Las Vegas. So neither one of those games are going to be
well,
that great to
I
watch.
mean, there's some playoff implications in those.
Well, the Minnesota game definitely, but
And
the other
Atlanta's
one,
fighting for a spot. Their
I know that.
divisions.
I know that, but that Atlanta should blow them away. Las Vegas is a terrible, terrible team.
Oh yeah,
Um,
of course, of course.
they're in very bad straits. Um, by the way, since week 14, the Chiefs did um, clinch their NFC or AFC West. Um, Also, from week 14, the Vikings quarterback had 5 touchdowns. That's Sam Darnold. He fantastic guy, fantastic quarterback. One of the things that's interesting about the Giants, they're really bad, but they're 0-7 this year at home. That is not good. That's not a good way to gain fans. So it should be an interesting rest of the NFL. It's wrapping up in a hurry, uh, and to help us switch from NFL to NCAA football, I'm going to start with an absolute shocker. I cannot believe the news that Belichick is going to become the coach at North Carolina Tar Heels. North Carolina Tar Heels have never been a highly ranked team in football. They're known for their basketball. I wanted to find out what is the connection. Why would he even go there? What means anything to him? So I got to looking and I found out that his father um, actually was an assistant coach back in the 50s at North Carolina. Now, what I didn't find out, and maybe you can do this while I'm talking here, I don't know if Belichick went to college there. I don't know if there's any more that goes along with the story, but it's just interesting that he's going to North Carolina to be the coach. Now, I want to talk about Belichick here for just a second because there's always been this little rumor that he's not a people guy. He's sort of a rough kind of guy with players, which is fine. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. But today they say that coaching the age bracket of college age kids today, you got to be careful how tough you are. And see, the difference is in the NFL, the coach doesn't have as much to say about who comes to the team. That's the owner. And in college, you go out to their homes, you go out and visit, you actually are part of the PR as a coach that tries to get the player to come. If he's not a people person, or if he's not necessarily a mean person, but not a people person, that's not going to be easy to go into someone's home and try to get somebody.
Well, they have a game plan, and they're going to execute their game plan.
Now, the reason why I wonder if it's not a little bit of a joke, okay, is because he could just be an introverted person. Because the people that have made fun of him are people like Brady and Grok and some of these people that are extremely extroverted people. And so it's not fair when you get these major extroverted people that are trying to say, well, he's just a really mean guy. And you know what? Maybe there are some players that will purposely come there because they want that hard nose. I mean, the guy has a phenomenal record in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. One of my fears is, and this goes along with what we said about Tyson and some of these other people that have tried to make a name for themselves after being big. I'm just scared that he's going to go there and entirely flop. um, I know that a number of college coaches have become NFL coaches. I don't know of an NFL coach that has ever become a college coach. That's tough. It's a total different game, and so it should be very interesting. I hope he does well. I really do. I hope he does well. Just to go into this a little deeper, so Deion Sanders did do an absolute turnaround to a school, and he was an NFL player, not a coach. Okay, but he went to Colorado, another team that was a no-name team, and in this year alone, he made them a top, I think, 15, maybe, but at least a top 25 team. Not only that, they have a player that just now, for the first time in college football history, Travis Hunter won both the offensive and defensive award. That's never happened before. Okay. Um, and so I'm not here to say that NFL people can't make it as college people. That's not what I'm trying to say. But there's a difference in being an NFL player and in being an NFL coach. And Deion Sanders already knew how to do different things. He's the guy that did baseball too, and he did okay at baseball. I mean, he wasn't woohoo, but he was okay. He did okay. Um, but what I'm saying is now they're saying Deion Sanders may become an NFL coach, and hey, there's going to be some coaching positions open more than likely. There's some really bad teams that probably will get rid of their coach this year. So it may happen. Does that mean he'll make an excellent NFL coach? Maybe not. Um, because that's happened before. College coaches have come over to NFL and they just choked. They were terrible. So I don't understand all the dynamic differences of college and pro, but it's definitely there when it comes to coaching, and it should be interesting. I'm thrilled for Belichick. I know, I feel like he misses football. It's obvious he wants to be around football. He has a lot to offer. I know he's an old man, but you know what? The guy still has a lot to offer. He knows football, and even if he went there just as a assistant coach, for crying out loud, he would make a huge difference on a team no matter where he shows up.
Wesleyan University, by the way.
That's where he went to school.
Wesleyan University.
Really?
In, where was it? In Middletown, Connecticut,
Wow. So he didn't go to. Okay. Okay, that's interesting.
where he played football, lacrosse, and squash.
Seriously? Did he? He never played in NFL, did he? I don't think he did. I don't think he ever did. I think he was an assistant coach early on, in NFL,
Yeah,
and
I
he
don't
was,
think he ever played.
yeah, he was an assistant coach for many different teams. Um, by the way, I do know, that this year college football is a little bit different because they're doing a playoffs, and I can tell you a little bit of what's going on there. They're the only game. Okay, in times past, this weekend, the only game that would have been played would have been the Army Navy game. Um, this year, they are playing a few other games, in 1A ball, but they're not any substance games. They don't mean much. Um, but typically, that's the only game that's being played is the Army Navy game. It is a big game this year because Navy is a competitive team. Army is ranked in the top 25. They should win, but Navy does have a winning record. They have had a good year. It should be more competitive than what it's been in the past. That's been the problem. Is in the past, one of the two teams has been very good, the other one has not. So it's almost been a bore of a game, because it's been dominated at times. It's not. It is a rival game, but it's not to the degree of like an Auburn, Alabama type. Um, and one of the reasons why it's so big of a deal is because it's a military game. It's called the Military Bowl, and there's a lot of excitement there. So um, it will be well watched. People do pay attention to it. So what they did for the rest of the games will be played next week, not this weekend, but next weekend. What they did was if you won your division, then you are given a bye, and you are automatically put in. And then the ones, no, that's not right. I'm sorry. If you were ranked one, okay, let me back up here. if you were ranked to a certain spot, you got an automatic bye. And so, for instance, the teams that got a bye were Arizona State, Oregon, Boise State, and Georgia. The rest of them were teams that either won their division, um, or they were ranked high enough that now they're part of the first round. And let me just tell you what these teams are. So Clemson and Texas will play one another. Not this again. All this is next weekend. Clemson and Texas will play one another. Whoever wins that will play Arizona State. Now, in my personal opinion, I think Clemson will win that game, even though they are less ranked than Texas. That's my personal opinion. Um,
Oh,
yeah, Tennessee, Ohio State plays, and whoever wins that game will play Oregon. I think Ohio State will play that game simply because they are very upset with what happened with Michigan. Very upset, and I think they're coming in there with blood on their hands, and they're just ready to go. Um, Now, I personally think it does not matter who goes there. Oregon is winning. Uh,
yeah.
Oregon, I think they're going to win the whole thing. Um, and then the next game is SMU against Penn State, and whoever wins that will play Boise State. SMU and Penn State will be, in my opinion, one of the best games. I don't know who's going to win that game. That should be a fantastic game. Uh, I'm going to give it to Penn State. Penn State has already won Oregon, or I mean, has lost to Oregon, but they got stomped pretty good, and I think they're going to be a little upset with that. Um, Indiana is playing Notre Dame. That will be both of them are from Indiana. Then they play each other, and whoever wins that will play against Georgia. Um, I'm going to give that. I don't want to, but I'm going to give it to Notre Dame. Um, and I think that Georgia will beat either one of them, no matter who goes there.
Right.
So, but so anyway, that means that by the time we get down to the next level, I would then have Arizona State, Oregon, Penn State, Boise State. That's going to be a game right there. I'll go Penn State, and then Georgia. And so that would be your next level, and then it just keeps breaking down. So it comes down like a playoff here. And it should be very interesting to see what happens in those rankings.
What's your prediction for the national championship game?
Well, I think Oregon goes all the way. I don't think they're going to be defeated.
Who are they facing?
Ooh.
Because I have my answer, and I don't think you're gonna like it.
Honestly, I could see a repeat of Oregon and Penn State.
Really? I think it's going to be the number one, number two teams, Oregon, Georgia, and I think it's going to be an upset. It's very hard to go completely undefeated,
It is. You're exactly right.
and I think Georgia will take advantage of that because Oregon's going to know that going in,
Yes.
and I think
Yes.
Georgia will be your national champions this year.
Wow. I actually hope you're right. To be honest, I hope you're right. I I really do. I hope you're right. The only reason, yeah, I literally hope you're right. Uh, but I'm still going to go with Oregon, Penn State as a repeat. I know we weren't going to talk other sports, but I want to bring up just enough NBA just because of something that's interesting that's going on in NBA right now. NBA has a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of drama. And I just think it gets out of hand how political and how crazy they get at times. And one of those major people is LeBron.
Oh no.
And right now, LeBron is seated. He has seated himself. And the timing of it just looks a little strange with what's going on politically with someone else that we won't mention. But it just, the timing of it is a little strange. But beyond that, okay, it's also strange that LA Lakers are sort of a middle team right now. They're not on top, they're not on bottom, they're sort of a middle team. And the team that he used to play with, the Cleveland Cavaliers, are the top team. in the NBA. Um, there's a whole lot of talk, not just, can you imagine what all's going on in arenas right now with LeBron showing up? I mean, all the teasing he's getting about Cleveland, all the teasing he's getting about what's going on politically because Trump won, and then all the teasing that
Huge.
yeah, and then all the teasing that he's getting because of court cases that could be coming up in the next few weeks. The guy has a lot of things going on. Besides all of that, he has a son that is playing sometimes with LA Lakers, sometimes with their NBA G team. And so there's just a lot of drama going on in his life right now. And it's just interesting that a guy that never came through college, he went straight from high school into NBA. He has been a very legendary player. There's no doubt about it. I'm
Mhm.
not going to deny him that right. He has a right to be considered a legend. I will not ever deny him that.
One of the best to ever do it.
Yes, he is. He really is. I mean, I'm not going to say he's better than Michael Jordan, but he's at least as good as him. Um, and so yeah, it just, again, I hate to see any player, I don't care who it is, near the end of their career have some things happen that just makes their whole career almost end ugly. And I'm afraid that's what's going to happen between some of this stuff that's going on in his life. I don't know why all of a sudden he went all political and started talking and just smack mouthing everything and giving his opinion about stuff that he didn't need to even be talking about. It was like, what are you doing? You know, you're a big name. You need to keep your mouth shut.
A lot of
It's
people
one thing.
turned off basketball because of how political it got.
That's exactly right. And
I
I mean,
did.
it's one thing for me to say it. I'm a nobody, okay?
Hmm.
But LeBron James starts talking about Democrats and the BLM and all the issues of life, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? You know, calm down. And
People look to sports as a reason to, as a distraction from the everyday life.
exactly.
You don't want to bring
That's
the everyday life to sports.
that's exactly right. And that's why, in my opinion, when I don't care what sport it is, when you start having to talk about who's kneeling here and who's doing this and who's doing that and stop it. We just don't need to. We don't need that. It just takes away from the whole idea of why most people are paying attention to sports. You know, we don't. We're not here to talk politically about, you know, whether you like it that we play the national anthem, whether you like it that we play Old Canada at a hockey game. Come on, you know, just stop. None of that stuff is what we're there for. That's
Right.
not why the fans are there. That's not why the fans are paying attention. And to me, you know, well, for instance, okay, Baltimore Ravens just now benched a guy because he refused to come out in the third quarter. I think it was that team. Am I right about that? No, it might have been another team. Anyway, some team. Why do I not remember who this is? Some team just now benched a guy for this coming week because he refused to come out in the third quarter of the game. And it's like, what is wrong with you? I mean, are you a team player? What is wrong with you that, you know, the coach asked you to go out there for a play or whatever it is? No, I'm not going. And it's like, excuse me, you know, I, I just I struggle with that kind of stuff. It doesn't make sense to me. You're getting paid, you're there, fans are watching you. You know, it's like, come on, don't be such a jerk. You know, I mean, I just have a real struggle with that. I really do. And so I don't know. The more I'm looking into different sports besides just baseball, I've been trying to do some studying in the NBA and NHL and so forth. NHL is a super duper clean sport. I'm just amazed. Uh, I mean, they have their fights a little bit, but it's legitimate fights, and and people aren't being fined and people aren't doing stupid stuff. It's like, man, maybe it's because it's a frustration sport in the first place, or they get all their energy out by skating around. I don't know why. Maybe because it's a Canadian sport. I don't know why. But those players are just so much more calm, and it's like, man, why can't we get a little bit of this in the NFL and the NBA? Because these guys are just brutal with each other and just ugly and nasty hits and just mean stuff. Just tonight, some NBA player got decked and in the face, and I mean he has a big old bruise on his head and he's out. And it's like, good grief, you know. And it may have been an accident. I didn't see the play, but I'm just saying it's just amazing to me that through the years everybody thought NHL was the toughest, meanest sport, and yet as far as tempers and acting like jerks and doing all this kind of stuff, it seems like that right now NBA and NFL are just falling apart, with tempers and the way they treat their families and the team and each other and all this type of stuff. And I just don't like that. It does not come across good to me. I don't like it. I don't think it does well for professional sports, in general. And like we just said, most people are following professional sports just for a release to get away. One of the reasons I like these podcasts, it's just a nice way for me to just relax and to think about sports for a few minutes. I don't have to think about other things. um, I pour a little bit of myself into this and I enjoy it. I enjoy giving my opinion about sports. Do I feel like I'm right about all of it? Of course not. I mean, it's an opinion, you know, um, and I may be so off that it's stupid. But my point is, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And I don't like when I hear that, for instance, you happen to say, I don't want to watch NBA anymore. That's sad. That's not the way it should be.
I mean, I do want to get back into it. Don't get me
Oh,
wrong,
sure.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I definitely had stopped watching. And another thing I do want to mention is LeBron has every right to say what he wants to. Free
Right.
country, freedom of
Right.
speech. Doesn't mean we want to hear
Right.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
I
That's
just
right.
wanted to make that clear. Like, hey, go. You can talk. Doesn't mean I want to hear you talk.
Right. Right. No, you're right about that. You're right about that. Just something funny about NHL to me is I'm down here in Florida, one of the warmest states in the country, and yet the Florida Panthers are one of the best teams. It just cracks me up that that's true. It just, I mean, you usually think of it as being a cold team. Matter of fact, I don't even know. This tells you how much I don't know about NHL, but sometime, I think it's in December, January, they play that outdoor game every year. And I mean, to me, that would be so cool. I don't even like sitting out in cold, but if I was going to go to a hockey game, that'd be one I'd want to attend. It'd be like, wow, let's just go and really, see this thing on true ice, sitting outside, freezing half to death,
Yeah.
because they play it way up north somewhere. But I just find it funny that the Florida Panthers are a very legitimate team, and they play a good ball. Or good ball, listen to me. They play a good puck. There you go.
There you go.
So, but I just find that rather funny that they're one of the best teams in the NHL. And actually, my Washington Capitals, not that I ever really claimed them, but they're really good. They're up in the standings. So, well, that is all I have for some of the sports. I wanted to try to branch out. I'm going to continue to try to branch out some to try to get into different sports because there's just it's amazing. The more I study into different sports, what all is
Hmm.
available out there. Uh, when you start looking at the athletics that happens at the college level, there is pretty much something going on almost every day, okay, at the college level, whether it's volleyball, whatever it is, there is something almost every day going on. And what I found unique was I did not expect to see this, but as I began to see in football as well as in some other sports, basketball, for instance, I started looking at NCAA basketball. some of the teams that are good at football also have top teams in basketball. And I thought, boy, I wonder how many of these teams have top 25 teams in multiple sports. And it would really be cool to then to be a fan of not just one sport, but of a college that has multiple sports that they're very good at. Um, because I mean, then you talk about it, you could follow a whole athletic department instead of just following one sport, and that would be. I mean, you talk about having some season tickets to go to different things, and you could end up doing, a year's worth of football and volleyball and basketball and baseball and possibly have a top 25 team in all of those. That'd be some pretty good ball you're watching at that point, um, with some pretty competitive stuff going on. But I've never paid attention to that before at that level. And I thought, wow, going back and circling this back around to Belichick, if he makes that football team a top 25 and they're typically a top 25 basketball team, that's huge. I mean, that just totally brings a whole new perspective to that whole town, that
Yeah.
whole division of whatever they are in football. Because even his name alone is going to sell tickets. Nevertheless, I mean, you don't even have to win. Just having his name there, his presence there, is going to bring people. So yeah, there's just something to it that's just really neat. And I don't know. The more I look into some of these sports, the more I'm just amazed of how much there is available for anyone that likes sports. Um, and this is even getting down to I'm down here in football country. There are some major good football players that come out of the state of Florida that go on to college and then go on to NFL. And you could follow their record. I, I've done just a few little readings on Juan Soto, and just in the last few weeks, and one guy has followed him since even back when he was playing down in South America, or wherever he's from. I don't know where he's from, but anyway, and they said even back then he had an amazing swing, and I thought, oh man, now here's a guy that watched him in high school or wherever he watched him first and realized the man had talent clear back then. And it's like, wow, I've never, I cannot tell you a player of any sport that I have followed from like their young career, and I mean like a teenager, clear through them making it to the pros. I don't have anyone that I've ever done that with. But that would be pretty neat. I mean, I could go back and look, but I'm saying that I've done it personally.
Hmm.
Um, that would be pretty neat to really follow someone all the way through. And you talk about becoming a fan of someone, you would really, wow. I mean, to say that you not necessarily got their autograph, not that part of that discussion, but you watched them, you saw them, you knew their mom and dad, you knew the school they went to. I've never had that experience, and part of that is I never went to a public school, and so I went to private school all my life, so that's part of the reason why. But I just, yeah, I can only imagine, somebody out there went to high school with Juan Soto, and now the guy's making $700 million. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. Somebody out there is the next door neighbor to Juan Soto and thinking, wow, I remember when he was running around in diapers and outside,
Hmm.
and that just, it's just hard to sometimes imagine that, Bill Belichick. Somebody's thinking, hey, I remember coaching him in college when he played squash. And it's like
All right.
I remember playing squash with Bill Belichick. It's like wow. So I, I just think it's neat that sports comes around like that. And anyway, we've got way off topic, but it's
Yes,
just
we have.
fun to it's just fun to really follow sports, and That's what I'm trying to do with these podcasts, is just trying to stir some interest in people to think about sports and think about their team and their people that they like, and maybe get back into it a little bit, give it a little bit of a second chance, because I know sports has had some ugly days. It really has. All the different sports have had some ugly days. People don't like all the money that's being spent. People don't like all the politics that's being done. But you know what? Every now and then we need to just get away from some of the ugly things that are going on in this world. And I really do think that's what sports can be. Am I going to go to a baseball game this year? Probably not. It's way too expensive. It really is.
I
But
mean, you are where the Marlins are. They do have pretty cheap tickets.
yeah, but I want to watch a team that might win. I mean, you know.
Go when the if the Orioles go to town.
Oh, now yeah, there you go. But do I go out to sports? No, not like I used to. I'll admit I don't go to many sports events, but I do still enjoy them. And sometimes I think I enjoy reading the stats as much as I do being there, just seeing how players are doing. I have enjoyed some fantasy stuff. It's a lot of fun. Fantasy's so much fun.
We'll have to do
And
that again this season.
yes, and you know what? We need to do a episode about fantasy, because I do fantasy different than other people. Like right now, I'm doing fantasy football. I am changing up my roster almost weekly,
How many teams?
which is not a smart idea. I only have one team,
No,
but
like
but
how
I
many teams are in the league?
oh 12.
Oh.
But and I'm six right now. I'm ranked six. But I go by who they're playing each week.
Mm-hmm.
And so I instead of going by how they're doing throughout the whole year, I go by who they're playing, and I just go in on. I wait till Wednesday to make my selections, because the Thursday game is the next time, the next
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the week, and so I go in on Wednesday and I just simply compare my quarterbacks and go all the way through. I compare all the quarterbacks, I compare all the wide receivers, all the running backs. I just go all the way through. Um, and I have won some weeks against some top competitors because I have changed out from a even pretty top guy. I mean, a guy that should have done better, but I traded him out, or not traded him. I usually just get rid of him. Um, and so now I've kept some people. I mean, I had Christian on IR forever, um, and I
Don't get me
just got rid.
started.
Yeah,
Don't
I
get me
just got rid of
started.
him. I got rid of him now. I'm done. I'm like, yep, see ya. You're gone. So,
I mean,
but
he's either in an IR spot or on
yeah,
free agency.
yeah. So I was like, yeah, I'm done. So I don't hold on to people. And you remember when we did baseball together, I was constantly making transactions. And so I like to just go in and look at stats. I like to give new people, particularly in baseball, I love to give new people a chance. It's so much fun. Oh, by the way, just to swing back to baseball just quick enough, something that I just read just today. Terry's already making huge comments about Dela Cruz. Huge comments. Like,
Oh,
oh, this guy's an all-star. He's fantastic.
oh,
And I'm like, are you serious? I mean,
Reds
so
NL Central champs.
what a question.
Feeling
Mm, his first year there. NL, can
they'd
they
have to make more moves
top?
for me.
I was going to say, can they top the Brewers? I don't know.
I can see him coming in too, but I can't see him topping the Brewers with that roster right
Right,
now.
right. And have the Cubs made enough moves is the other question.
Oh, they just got Tucker.
I
That's going to be an interesting division this year.
it's gonna be those three, definitely. Pittsburgh and St. Louis, forget it. But
A full year of Paul
wow.
Skeens may do something for Pittsburgh too.
Who?
A full year of Paul Skeens may do something for
Oh
Pittsburgh.
yeah, you're right. Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, oh yeah. But
That's
yeah,
going to be an interesting
but one
division.
pitcher's not enough though.
No, it's not.
But
No.
oh man, Cincinnati, man. The thing is,
If not this year, within 3 years.
the coach of the year though was Milwaukee's coach, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I still have to say Milwaukee's top there,
Oh, I agree.
but
I
Cincinnati is going to be a tight second, I think.
if Cincinnati makes moves, then Within
And
the next 3 years, I see them winning a
I think
division
it's going to
title.
be one of those things again, coming back to football. People are apt to go there just because of Terry, and people are apt to go to North
Hmm.
Carolina just because of Belichick.
You're right.
And so you give it, if they can give it. Okay, so let's say that Belichick goes to North Carolina and they end up. Let's see, there's 12 games. They end up 4-8 this coming year. Okay, I don't even know what they ended up this year. I have no clue. But let's just
Hmm.
say they're 4-8. Okay, and everybody's like, "Well, man, he didn't do very good." Okay, oh, calm down. Okay, and then the next year he's 6-6, and then you start bringing in some people, and all of a sudden this guy is 8-4, and I mean it just keeps going and going. Okay, it keeps building up. I see the same thing with Terry. Now he's not a young spring chicken, but he still has some years left. I mean, you start thinking Dusty Baker and people like this that have stayed managers forever. Um, you know what? You could build around De La Cruz. The guy's a
Hmm. Oh
racehorse
yeah.
out there. He's a great hitter. Um, and so I yeah. Do they have pitching? Do the Reds have pitching?
I think they need more.
Yeah, that's what I thought their weakness was. So man, because see, to me the Brewers have pitching,
Yeah, they do.
and the Pirates they have the one pitcher, but to
That's
me,
that's why I said if the Reds make moves.
right, yeah, yeah, and the Cubs now with making a few moves, yeah, that should be an interesting division. St. Louis is another team that just, what do you say about them? My goodness. Okay, well, we're getting to baseball. We got
What
to
could have
stop,
been,
but
or what
yeah,
has
really,
been.
yeah, what has been. There you go. That's the best way to say it. But anyway, all right. Well,
They
hey, man, as
are
always,
hardened by what has been.
yeah. As always, man, it's great to
Alrighty,
talk. We've
and
talked
this
about a
is
lot of sports tonight. So
yes we have, and this has been the Grounds Crew. Please like, comment, subscribe here on YouTube, and we are also on Instagram and TikTok. Bye.